Good day, everyone. We are Group 1 Mukachos. We are here today to discuss the RA 7610 or the Republic Act 7610 Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. Here's my groupmate to elaborate more on what RA 7610 is all about.
Today I will discuss to you about Section 1 to Section 6. Section 1. It is hereby declared to be the policy of the states provided special protection to children from all forms of abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, and discrimination, and other conditions prejudicial their development, provide sanctions for their commission, and carry out a program for prevention and deterrence. Section 2. Declaration of State Policy and Principles. The Philippines renounces war as an instrument of national policy, adopts the generally accepted principles of international law as part of the law of the land, and adheres to the policy of peace, equality, justice, freedom, cooperation, and amity with all nations. Section 3. Definition of terms. As defined in Section 3 of the Act, refers to all national government infrastructure projects and their public service, facilities, engineering works, and services contracts, including projects undertaken by government-owned and controlled corporation. Projects covered by RA number 6957 as amended by RA. Section 4. Formulation of the program. This act provides for stronger deterrence and special protection against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination. It is an Article number 2 establishes a program on child abuse, discrimination, and exploitation too. It is prohibit trafficking in children, the use of children for obscene publication, and indecent shows, child prostitution, sexual abuse, and other acts of neglect, cruelty, abuse, and exploitation that are prejudicial to the child's development. Section 5. Child's prostitution and other sexual abuse. Childs and adult women ages 10 to 30 years old are experiencing exploitation and prostitutions. They profit or make money using their bodies to pleasure other people, and it is due to influences or curiosity to make bigger money. But the consequences are sexual abuse, violence acts, and many more. Section 6. Attempt to commit child prostitutions. Is all about attempt to commit child prostitutions. Most of us knows about this kind of situation where innocent children used in prostitution because of poverty itself, even inside our barangays.
Section 7. Child Trafficking. It is a recruitment, transportation, transfer, and harboring for receipt. Ito ay kung saan ang mga bata ay naloko, pinilit, nikayat na umalis sa kanilang tahanan at inilipat o dinala pagkatapos ay pinagsamantalahan, pinilit na magtrabaho o ibenta para sa malaking halagang pera. Section 8. Attempt to commit child trafficking. Sino mang tao na nakikibahagi at nangangalakal sa pakikitungo ng mga bata, pagkilos ng pagbili at pagbenta sa isang bata para lamang sa pera ay maaaring parusahan sa pinakamataas na panahon nito kapag ang biktima ay wala pa sa 12 taong gulang. Section 9. Obscene publications and indecent shows. The penalty of prison mayor, fine ranging from 6,000 to 12,000 pesos, or both such imprisonment and fine shall be imposed upon those who shall publicity expound or proclaim doctrines openly contrary to public morals. Section 10. Other acts of neglected, abuse, cruelty, or exploitation and other conditions prejudicial to the child's development. Any person who shall commit any other acts of child abuse, cruelty or exploitation, or to be responsible for other conditions prejudicial to the child's development, including the conferred by Article 59, Presidential Decree Number 603. Section 11. Sanction of establishment or enterprises which promote facilities or conduct activities constituting child prostitutions and other sexual abuse, child trafficking, obscene publications and indecent shows, and other acts of abuse. All establishment and enterprises which promote or facilitate child prostitutions and other sexual abuse, child trafficking, obscene publications and indecent shows, and other acts. Section 12. Employment of children. When a child works directly under the sole responsibility of his/her parent or legal guardian, and where only family of his/her family are employed.
Next is the section on 13, non-formal education for working children. The Department of Education, Culture and Sports shall promulgate a course design under its non-formal education program aimed at promoting the intellectual, moral, and educational efficiency of working children who have not undergone or finished elementary or secondary education. Such course design shall integrate the learning process deemed most effective under given circumstances. But what does non-formal education mean? So according to UNESCO, non-formal education is defined as education that is institutionalized, intentional, and planned by an education provider. The non-formal education programs in for example, ALS, our basic literacy program, and accreditation and equivalency program. Non-formal education also covers programs contributing to adult and youth literacy and education for out-of-school children, as well as programs on life skills, work skills, and social or cultural development. Next we have is section 14, prohibition on the employment of children in certain advertisements. No person shall employ child models in all commercials or advertisements promoting alcoholic beverages, intoxicating drinks, tobacco, and its byproducts and violence, or anything that is not child-friendly. So it is important for young children to know that our advertisers are trying to make you buy something, that advertisers sell the products that might not be useful for them. Advertising affects the young children in different ways, and it is important to understand the bad effects. Various factors, including can be their age, personality, and a family, as well as the social backgrounds. Parents need to understand that these effects, and also how to reduce the pestering of children to purchase a certain product that is not suitable for them. Next we have is section 15, duty of the employer. Every employer shall comply with the duties provided for in Articles 108 and 109 of Presidential Decree number 603. So in the Article 109 of the Presidential Decree 603, it is the register of children. Every employer in any commercial, industrial, or agricultural establishment or enterprise shall keep, number one, a register of all the children employed by him, indicating the dates of their birth. 2. A separate file for the written consent to their employment given by their parents or guardians. 3. A separate file for their educational and medical certificates, and a separate file for their social work permits issued by the Secretary of Labor in accordance with existing laws. Section 16, penalties. So what are the penalties that will be given to violators of this article? So any person who shall violate any provision of this article shall suffer the penalty of a fine of not less than 1,000 pesos, but not more than 10,000 pesos, or for imprisonment not less than 3 months, but not more than 3 years, or both at the discretion of the court, provided that in case of repeated violations of the provisions of this article, the offender's license to operate shall be revoked. So, Section 17, survival, protection, and development. In addition to the rights guaranteed to children under this Act and other existing laws, children of indigenous and cultural communities shall be entitled to protection, development consistent with the customs and traditions of their respective communities. So, we have an example here on why indigenous cultural communities. The Department of Education has issued guidelines on protecting children in school from abuse, violence, exploitation, discrimination, bullying, and other forms of abuse. And yet, indigenous students still experience discrimination. Indigenous children end up denying their ethnicity because of discrimination. Discrimination was revealed in studies, yet there is a lack of information as to whether these are reported to the appropriate authorities. Also, based on other studies, aside from dropping out of school, the effect of discrimination is a psychosocial in nature of and access to education. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports shall develop and institute an alternative system of education for children of indigenous cultural communities, which culture specific and relevant to the needs of and the existing situation in their communities. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports shall also accredit and support non-formal but functional indigenous educational programs conducted by non-government organizations in said communities.
And I will tackle to you about Section 19 to Section 24. Section 19, Health and Nutrition. The basic social services in health and nutrition to children of indigenous cultural communities shall be given priority by all government. In the provision of health and nutrition services to children of indigenous cultural communities, indigenous health practices shall be respected and recognized. Section 20. Discrimination. Children of indigenous cultural communities shall be subjected to any and all forms of discrimination. Did you know that any person who discriminates against children of indigenous cultural communities shall be suffer a penalty of arrest to mayor in its maximum period and a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos to 10,000 pesos. Section 21. Participation. Indigenous cultural communities, through their duty designated or appointed representative, shall be involved in planning, decision-making, implementation, and evaluation of all government programs affecting children of indigenous cultural communities. Section 22. Children as zone of peace. It shall be the responsibility of the state and all other sectors concerned to resolve armed conflicts in order to promote the goal of children as zone of peace. To attain these objectives, we have 6 policies that shall be observed. 1. Children shall not be the object of attack and shall be entitled to special respect. 2. Children shall not be recruited to become members of the armed forces of the Philippines, of its civilian unit, or other armed groups. So, dapat hindi po natin ginagawang mga asset ang mga bata dahil may case na baka malagay sila sa panganib or sa kapahamakan. Number 3, delivery of basic social services such as education, primary health, and emergency relief services shall be kept unharmed. Number 4, they shall not be subjected to undue harassment in the performance of their work. 5, public infrastructure such as schools, hospitals, and rural health units shall not be utilized for military purposes such as command posts, barracks, detachments, and supply depots. 6. All appropriate steps shall be taken to facilitate the reunion of families temporarily separated and due to armed conflict. Section 23. Evacuation of children during armed conflict. Community organization shall be taped to look after the safety and well-being of children during evacuation operation. Measures shall be taken to ensure the children evacuated are accompanied by persons responsible for their safety and well-being. Family life and temporary shelter. Family members shall be housed in the same premises and given separate accommodation from other evacuees and provided with the facilities to lead a normal life. In places of temporary shelter, expectant and nursing mothers and children shall be given additional food in proportion to their physiological needs. Children shall be also given opportunities to do exercise sports and outdoor games.
Next is the Section 25, the rights of children arrested for reasons related to an armed conflict. It states that any child who has been arrested for reasons related to an armed conflict has rights, and those are the following: separate detention from adults, except where families are accommodated as family units; immediate notification of such arrest to the child's parent or guardians; and within 24 hours, the child's custody should be released. On the other hand, Section 26 deals with the monitoring and reporting of children in situations of armed conflict. It is stated that within 24 hours, the barangay chairman needs to submit the names of children involved in the armed conflict and submit them to the municipal social welfare and development officer. The next one is Section 27, and it focuses on the question of who may file a complaint regarding the abuse and discrimination of children. In this section, they enumerated the people who may file a complaint, and it consists of the offended party, parents or guardians, the barangay chairman, and at least 3 people who are responsible and concerned citizens. Section 28 explains the protective custody of the child. This section explains that a child who is below 18 years old must be placed under the protective custody of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Furthermore, the custody proceedings must be conducted in accordance with provisions of the Presidential Decree Number 603. Section 29 is the confidentiality. It is just that the name of the offended party must be withheld from the public until the court acquires jurisdiction over the case, because it may cause a result in the moral degradation and suffering of the offended party if his name is being publicized by any publisher. The next one is Section 30, Special Court Proceedings. In this section, it states that any case that may be involved in these violations of the Act shall be heard in the chambers of the judge and domestic court. In addition to that, all courts shall give preference to the hearing of cases involving the violations of this Act.
Sec 31 Common Penal Provisions. It says in this Act, which is the penalty or common penal provision, shall be imposed in its maximum period of the offender has been previously convicted under this Act. For example, if the employee or officer are responsible for the violation for this Act shall suffer and penalty imposed, even when the perpetrator is an ascendant parent, guardian, step-parent, or collateral relative, manager, owner of an establishment which has no license to operate shall be imposed also. Is the offender is a foreigner, he or she shall be deported immediately and forever banned from entry to the country. The Department of Social Welfare and Development shall impose and manage a fine to be set by the court as a cash fund for the rehabilitation of each child victim or any immediate member of his family if the latter is an offender of the violation. Sec. 32. Rules and Regulations. The Department of Justice, in collaboration with the Department of Social Welfare and Development, shall publish rules and regulations for the proper execution of this Act. Unless otherwise authorized in this Act, such rules and regulations will take effect after they have been published in 2 national newspapers with a broad circulations. Sec. 33. Appropriation. The sum required to carry out the provision of this Act is hereby authorized to be appropriated in the general appropriation of the Act the year succeeding its attachment and subsequent years. Sec. 34. Separability Clause. In this case, any provision in this indenture or in the securities shall be invalid, illegal or enforceable. The validity, legality, and enforceability of the remaining provision shall not in any way be affected or impaired therefore. Sec. 35. Repealing Clause. All laws, decrees, orders, resolutions, instructions, rules and regulations, or part thereof that are in conflict with this Act are hereby abolished or modified in accordance with this Act. Sec. 36. Effectivity Clause. This agreement shall become effective on the date of the signing hereof by the parties and shall be remaining valid or enforceable unless earlier terminated, revised or revoked upon mutual agreement of parties in accordance with the terms and conditions of this agreement.